Hey everyone, and welcome. So today we're diving into the final two chapters of the Quran, Falaq and An-Nas. Now, a lot of us recite them for protection, right? But what if their true purpose isn't just to shield us, but to completely transform us from the inside out? Let's just start with this big idea. What if these two short prayers are way more than just a shield? What if they're actually a complete blueprint for becoming more resilient, more aware, and, genuinely free? That's the core idea we're going to explore today. Okay, first up, there's a key term you'll see, muawwizatain. It's pretty simple. It just means the two protectors. It's the name for both of these chapters together. And the perspective we're looking at today sees them not just as prayers, but as a really detailed guide for navigating all of life's challenges, both the ones outside and the ones inside. So here's our roadmap. We'll kick things off with the secret of these two protectors. Then we'll jump into the external battleground, followed by the internal battlefield. From there, it's all about action with a 4-step plan, and we'll wrap up by painting a picture of who this transformed individual really is. All right, let's get into the big idea here. The source we're looking at argues that these surahs basically outline the ideal Qur'anic person. How? By teaching us how to handle the challenges that life inevitably throws our way. It's a proactive approach, not a passive one at all. Have you ever noticed how both chapters start with that exact same command? Say, I seek refuge. I mean, that's no accident. It sets up the #1 trait of this Qur'anic person, having the wisdom to know your own limits and to consciously connect with a higher power for real strength. And let's be clear, this is not about being helpless. The core insight here is that seeking refuge is actually the ultimate act of empowerment. You're freeing yourself from all that fear and anxiety by anchoring yourself to the only true source of power. That's a huge act of strength. So let's break down that first area of focus, the external battleground. This is all about the tangible, outside stuff we all have to deal with. And our guide for this, it's the first of the two protectors, Surah Falaq. You can see right here how these two chapters have a clear division of labor. Surah Falaq, that's for the external, visible threats. But Surah Nas, it turns the camera inward to the unseen world of our own thoughts and feelings. So one shields you from the outside world, and the other heals you from the inside out. So what exactly are these external threats? Well, Surah Falaq points to 4 specific kinds. First, any potential harm from anything that's been created. Second, the evil of darkness. And that could be literal nighttime, sure, but also metaphorical darkness, like ignorance or injustice. Third, you've got malicious influences. And finally, the really destructive power of envy, especially when someone acts on it. Now here's the crucial point. The response it teaches isn't to just live in fear, it's to build this state of mind called tawakkul, which is this powerful mix of being super aware of potential dangers, taking precautions, but then placing your ultimate trust in God. It's all about being prudent, not paranoid. Okay, now we're going to pivot. The external battle is a big deal, of course, but the source material suggests this next one, the internal battle, is even more subtle and maybe even more important. This is where Surah Nas becomes our guide for conquering those whispers inside our own heads. The main enemy here actually has a name, Vesvese. This is all about those negative, sneaky whispers in your mind, that little voice of doubt, the pull of your ego, the shadow of despair, or that nagging temptation. And these whispers, they can bubble up from inside us or come from outside influences. So how in the world do you fight something that subtle? Well, Surah Nas gives us this brilliant strategy. It doesn't just ask for protection. It gives us a 3-part shield by telling us to anchor our minds to 3 very specific attributes of God. And here they are. First, you have Rabb, the Lord who nurtures us and helps us grow. Second is Melek, the absolute sovereign, the one who has ultimate control over everything. And third, Ilah, the one true being worthy of our devotion. According to this whole framework, really connecting to these 3 realities is exactly how you bring peace to all that internal chaos. Okay, so we get the theory, right? The external battle, the internal battle. But how do we actually do this stuff? Let's get to the most practical part of this whole explainer, a 4-step action plan that comes directly from these 2 chapters. It's a really clear progression. Step 1 is just diagnosis. Becoming aware of the external threats and the internal whispers that are affecting you. Step 2 is action. Actively seeking refuge, not just with your words, but by changing your environment if you need to. Step 3 is transformation. consciously flipping a negative impulse like envy into something positive. And finally, step 4, the deepest one, embodying those divine attributes we just talked about. So let's really zoom in on that final step, because this is where all the theory gets real. I mean, it's one thing to know about these attributes, it's a whole other thing to actually live by them. That's where the real transformation happens. Let's see what that looks like. Just look at this breakdown. By connecting with God as Rabb, the nurturer, you start to see challenges completely differently, not as punishments, but as tools for your own growth. By understanding God as Melek, the sovereign, you begin to overcome fear because you internalize that, hey, nothing can truly harm me without his permission. And by seeing God as Ilah, the only one worthy of worship, you find this incredible freedom by letting go of your dependence on things like money, status, or even your own ego. So what's the end game here? What's the result of this whole journey? What does a person who masters both the external and the internal battlefields actually look like? Well, the source calls this the Qur'anic person, someone who is both protected and, most importantly, truly free. And this right here is the final portrait. This is the goal. This person is shielded from all that external negativity, and they are liberated from their own internal chaos. They're aware of life's challenges, for sure, but they're rooted in trust, not in fear. They're free from that crippling anxiety, and their entire life becomes this conscious journey from darkness to light and from the noise of those whispers to a profound inner peace. Ultimately, this guide isn't just some ancient text. It's a timeless map for personal growth. The journey from fear to trust, from whispers to peace, it all starts with a single conscious step. So, the real question is for you, which battlefield will you choose to address first? The one outside or the one within?